There is a quiet moment many people reach when the life they have carefully built still looks good from the outside, but no longer feels the home on the inside. It is not a breakdown, it is not a failure, it is something subtler, a transition asking for attention. Welcome to Mindful Living. I'm Yusuf, and this is a space for slowing down, listening inward, and exploring life with honesty and care. Today, I'm joined by Randy Bishop, an author, speaker, and guide for people navigating midlife transitions and seasons of reinventions. Randy's work centers on identity, meaning, and resilience, and he brings a grounded, story rich approach rather than formulas or quick fixes. In this conversation, we'll explore transition, becoming, and how to move forward when the old life no longer fits, but the next chapter hasn't fully revealed itself yet. With that, I welcome my guest Randy to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here, Yusuf.
Perfect. Randy, when you hear the words transition and becoming, what do they stir in you personally right now?
Well, what they stir in me personally is that I have transitioned between one thing and another so many times in my 60 years. It's as I look back, I'm sometimes surprised how I navigated many of those transitions, not really understanding what I was doing from one thing to another. And then
Mhm.
becoming really is something that I've really started working on this past year. The idea that, wow, I really have not really achieved who I am. I really have become something for everyone else, but who am I? So I think when it comes to becoming, I consider more of the internal work that says, who am I really? And does it line up with who I am outside?
Yeah. And Randy, many people see transition something to get through quickly, almost like a problem to solve.
Yeah.
What do you think we misunderstand most about seasons of transitions?
I think that what we mostly miss is that life is an entire series of
Mm.
transitions from
Yeah.
day to day to day. I mean, think about just our biology for a second. And I'm no expert in this, but I understand that you change and shed your skin so many times over your lifetime. We are constantly, even biologically, just in transition
Mhm.
from moment to moment. So I think that when we think about transitions, often we think that it's like from this job to this job or from this home to this home, and really it's a day by day process. And when we look at transition that way, I think that we can handle bigger transitions easier because we're accustomed to the process.
Mm. And what tends to happen when we rush that process instead of allowing it to unfold?
Oh, well, we miss all kind of things, I believe. When we rush the process of transitions, not granted, sometimes a transition has to be something that we do quickly, whether it's because of an accident or a job
Mm.
loss or some tragedy in life. Of course, we have to just quickly as possible. But I think that most transitions, it's a matter of taking a look again at where I've been, where I am, and where I'm going. And
Mm.
sometimes we rush through this. Sometimes we don't even think about it. We just kind of go on autopilot, so to speak, and we don't really consider the ramifications of not thinking about and not considering from where we are to where we're going. So I think
Mm.
that learning a process, and that's really in my book, that's really what I've outlined is just this simple process, just one piece at a time that allows us to go back and reflect maybe on an idea or maybe on an event in our past, and then reframe it into the current future, current place we're at. What does it mean today? Maybe it doesn't mean anything. and maybe I need to change what I believed from the past. And now that I've gotten this framework for today, how do I move it into tomorrow so that I am more aligned doing life the way it is inside of me? And so, I mean, it's a process, but I think it shouldn't be that difficult. It shouldn't be that groundbreaking or anything. I just think it should be something that we're mindful of.
Yeah. What I understand is that transition is not a detour from life. I think it is actually part of how life reshapes us when we slow down enough to actually listen to it.
Oh, absolutely. Let's just stop and think about the transitions that naturally occur within a
Mm,
family. Right?
mm,
I am a parent,
yeah,
and we went from having a husband and wife to all of a sudden having husband and wife expecting a child. And then all of a sudden, husband and wife expecting a child transitioned into husband and wife and child. And then a few years go by and that child's growing. You're constantly in transition with that child, but then maybe another one comes. And there's
yeah,
constant transitions, small little transitions all along the way. We really don't see them that way, but it's true. It is what happens. And now my children, though they're almost 30 and 33, and I have 4 grandchildren. So there've been other transitions that you don't really think about, but they are all
mm.
transitions nonetheless.
And how do these internal transitions tend to show up for people, let's say in their work, relationships, or their sense of purpose?
Well, I gotta tell you, sometimes they surprise you, and sometimes they're forced.
Mm,
Sometimes you wake up one morning, as I did over a year ago, and went, "Is this it? Is this everything? Is this who I am? And why am I this? Why have I gotten to this place? That was never the intention. That was never the vision." Um, and just one day I don't know what the sometimes it's a cataclysmic event. Sometimes it's just a waking up with a thought, but
mm,
it shakes you sometimes to your core, and sitting down and just asking yourself some basic questions. Like I said, just where have I been? And what
yeah,
is important from there? And what's it look like today? And where am I gonna go from here? And how am I gonna be more uniquely me? And how can I prepare myself? And how's it gonna affect my relationships? Because sometimes becoming more uniquely you, more authentically you, will cost you some relationships. It might cost you a job. It might it did for me once. It might cost you a relationship, whether it's a, partner or even
mm,
family somewhere. Friends might go, "I don't like who you're becoming." But you must. Your job is to become uniquely and authentically you.
yeah. And uh, Randy, what are some subtle signs people might notice before everything feels overwhelming?
Well, guys, it really just depends. But I'll tell you what happened with me as far as that goes. It was just a general unsettling. As I started to see certain things, they started to bother me. Certain things that I couldn't control, and it's not that I wanted to control them. I just wanted to control my response to them. I wanted to
Mm,
control how I felt about something, and when I couldn't even grab that, when I couldn't really get my mind around where I was and what I was doing and how did I get here, that's when all of a sudden, I started to grapple with it. So sometimes it comes fast, sometimes it comes from within, sometimes it's this earth-shattering moment. But
mm,
for me, I realized in my spirit, I realized in my body kind of an unrest. um, I need I had got into a habit for several years where I basically told everyone. I told my wife at the time, I told my children, "I just need peace. I'm looking peace and I cannot find it." And, I think that became kind of a mantra of mine for a while until one day I went, "Well, what's it gonna take? What's it gonna take to be peaceful?"
mm. Wow. Those small signs are not interruptions. I think they are like invitations asking us to pay attention earlier
Yeah,
rather than later.
absolutely.
Mm.
I know people who what they do is they surround themselves with activity. They fill their calendars. They just become busy and they bypass thinking about the things of their life. They bypass listening to their body, listening to their heart, listening to their mind. And my encouragement always is it just takes a few moments daily. I'm not asking anybody to turn their life into hours upon hours of reflection every day. I'm just saying that maybe a few moments looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, look yourself in the eye and just say, "Hey, how you doing today? You know, how are you feeling? What do you need?" We do that for other people. We do that
Mm.
for our families and our friends and for our colleagues, but we rarely just go and ask that for ourselves. So just the idea that we take the moment, recognize what our bodies, our spirits, our hearts are saying to us. It's just really important because at the end of our life, we're not going to sit around and think, wow, look at all the people I pleased.
Yeah.
We're gonna look back and say, wow, who was I? Who did I become? Did I
Mm.
satisfy that longing in my heart? Did I did I satisfy that curiosity? Have
Mm.
I become who I was born to be? And that's only a question. It doesn't there's no one else on the planet that can answer that question. They can answer how we made them happy, how we pleased them, that they can't answer if we satisfied who we were supposed to be.
Mm. Yeah. Randy, you developed the RE method.
Mhm.
Explain us about us what it is and what does it offer to someone who feels unsure of their next step.
Okay. If it's okay, can I show my book? I
Yeah, yeah.
this book, it's called The Re Method. It's a framework for becoming, and it's very simple, short, 100 pages, well laid out, not tight. My concept here was really what I went through a year ago.
Mm.
And I put my entire process down, my thought process, and as I made changes for myself, as I asked my own questions. What I did was I looked backwards and I
Mm.
realized that I was reflecting. I wasn't spending inordinate amounts of time on my past. I was just asking myself, is this belief something I still believe? Is this idea that I once embraced something I really still want to hold on to? Is this role that I once played important in my life anymore? And we so often collect things about ourselves, just like we collect knickknacks in our home, and we just keep them and we keep them and we pile them on and we pile them on. And before long, we're just underneath this pile. And so just going back and reflecting a little bit, that's the first
Mm.
reflecting. And then it came to reframing. Okay, here's a role, here's a thought, here's a belief. It doesn't really fit anymore. How can I change what I once thought, what I once believed, this experience? And how can I frame it to give me more balance, more into the life that I becoming, working myself into.
Mm.
So that was reframe.
Uh,
That's the second re, and what I did was I took the ideas, the experiences, maybe the beliefs from my past and started to reframe them. What do they mean to me today? What do I need to change? What do I need to throw away? Because sometimes we're just underneath that pile and we need to dig out and say,
mm.
okay, how does this apply today? And then I decided that the next step, and this is the process I've been on since, is to restore who
Mm.
I like I said, it's a framework to becoming. I don't think we're broken. I think we're becoming. I don't think we
Mm.
need to be fixed. I think we just need to put away things that don't work anymore, pick up the things that do work, and become more aligned with who we really are in heart and mind and body and soul. And when we
Mm.
do that, so the idea is we just get in this habit of reflecting, reframing, restoring, and then repeating the process.
Mm. I appreciate how this is not about forcing answer, but about rebuilding trust with yourself through reflection and honesty.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Again, it's one of the things that we don't do very often. Our world around us keeps us so busy, keeps us.
Mm,
I mean, my house has 3 TVs, and
mm,
they can be on all at the same time, and we just keep ourselves flooded with data. And then there's these other devices like the computers we're on and our phones. We just even just those electronics can invade our life, much less people and their requirements of our time and our efforts. And sometimes just those few moments to ourselves to ask ourselves some pointed questions can make a big difference
mm.
in who we become.
Yeah. Randy, what are the best ways that our listeners can find you?
Well, my book, The Remethod, is on Amazon.com, so you can find it there. I would recommend that they look up my name with my E, Randy E. Bishop. But you can find The Remethod on Amazon. That can be ordered. I also have another book on there. But as far as reaching me, anyone who'd like to reach me with any questions, they could get a hold of me at Randy at lifelessonscoaching.net. That's Randy at lifelessonscoaching.net.
Perfect. And to everyone listening, all these links are in the show notes. So just go and check that out.
Great.
Randy, is there any last message that you want to leave us with?
My last message would be for every listener, everyone who's going through a transition, everyone who's seeing life as maybe overwhelming, okay? The only way to move forward is one step at a time. Don't try to take too many things. Don't try to see it as one entire transition. Try to see it
Mm.
as I'm going to reflect on one thing and I'm going to correct this. I'm going to reflect it. I'm going to reframe it. I'm going to restore it into my life. And then I'm going to keep moving forward. And when you do that, life doesn't seem so overwhelming.
Yeah. I thank all my listeners and I thank you, Randy, for joining us on the Mindful Living.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. And if this conversation resonated, take a moment today to reflect not on what you should become, but on what is gently asking to emerge. And transition is not something to escape, it is a meaningful space where honesty, identity, and becoming quietly take shape. Until next time, stay present, stay curious, and allow yourself the grace of becoming.